Hey there. Before we drift off together into tonight's story, take a moment to make yourself comfortable. Dim the lights, maybe let the soft purr of a fan fill the room like distant ocean waves. If you've got a cat nearby, odds are it's already claimed your pillow. Let it stay. There's no better narrator for what we're about to explore than the small, mysterious creature curled at your side. Tonight, we're stepping quietly through the long, winding corridor of time, the story of how house cats became the silky shadows that rule our homes and hearts. Their journey is stranger, older, and more intertwined with us than most people realize. Long before laser pointers and internet memes, before temples, pyramids, or even the idea of a pet, there were wild eyes glinting in the tall grass, watching, always watching. The world we begin in was nothing like ours. It was an earth of shifting continents, humid forests, and endless prey. Picture an ancient landscape 40 million years ago. No humans, no dogs, just primitive mammals and the whisper of something predatory evolving in silence. The first cats, though calling them cats would be generous, were small tree-dwelling hunters known to science as Proailurus, the first cat. Imagine a creature halfway between a mongoose and a modern tabby. Short muzzle, retractable claws that clicked experimentally on bark, eyes like yellow moons, perfectly tuned to twilight. It stalked ancient forests of Europe, pouncing on birds and rodents with a confidence that said, "Yes, I was made for this. Evolution doesn't hurry, it prowls." Over millions of years, Proailurus gave rise to Pseudolurus, the ancestor that would branch into nearly every cat line we know today, from the tiniest sand cat to the enormous saber-toothed giants that would one day roam Ice Age plains. If you could stand in those Miocene woods, you'd see shapes moving in the underbrush, sleek, solitary, and eerily familiar. The feline template was already perfected: quiet feet, coiled muscles, patience that felt like wisdom. Some nights I think the cats of that era never truly disappeared. Their spirit lingers in the way your own cat stares at nothing, pupils widening at ghosts of motion only it can see. You might call it weird. I'd call it ancestral memory. As the earth cooled and continents shifted, cats spread. They crossed land bridges that no longer exist, padding silently from Asia into Africa, from Europe into the Americas. Each region sculpted them differently. Some grew massive to tackle antelope, others shrank to slip between roots and reeds. Natural selection shaped them into perfect mini predators, tuned like instruments for stealth. There's something oddly comforting in that, how evolution, messy and brutal as it is, found such grace in this form. The cat's body is a symphony of efficiency, a spine that bends like a bow, shoulders unbound by a collarbone, letting each step melt into silence. Even their whiskers are sensors, measuring the world the way we measure time with delicate, invisible precision. Around 9 million years ago, the feline family split into two great branches: the roaring cats, ancestors of lions and tigers, and the purring cats, our smaller, humbler companions. The big cats ruled open grasslands and jungles. The little ones learned the art of living unseen under leaves, behind rocks, inside shadows. Survival favored subtlety, not spectacle. When humans finally appeared, slow, clumsy, curious apes fumbling with fire, cats had already mastered the night. For thousands of years, we barely noticed each other. We were too busy trying not to die, but as we settled, planted crops, and built villages, a new relationship began to stir. Mice came for our grain, and following the mice came the cats. It started somewhere in the Near East, roughly 10,000 years ago, in places that would one day be called Turkey, Syria, and Egypt. Picture an early human village. Mud brick homes, the smell of grain and smoke, the rustle of rats in the dark corners. Into this human chaos wanders a small striped wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica. Cautious, lean, golden-eyed, It doesn't come for affection, it comes for dinner. Humans, exhausted from chasing rodents, let it stay. The cat notices, it learns that near humans there's always food. Generations later, those who are less fearful thrive. Slowly, without contracts or cages, an alliance forms one of the quietest deals in history. The cats keep the grain safe, the humans let them live. It was mutualism wrapped in mutual indifference. And that, more than any royal decree or breeding program, is how domestication began, not through force, but through choice. Cats chose us. They domesticated themselves. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? Most animals we call domestic were conquered: dogs, horses, cattle, all shaped by our will. But cats, they simply decided we were useful and then much later perhaps tolerable. Their independence isn't arrogance, it's memory. A memory older than civilization, whispering, "I was wild once." Archaeologists found the first proof of this partnership on the island of Cyprus, in a 9,500-year-old grave, a human buried with a cat carefully placed beside them, paws curled as if mid-dream. No ropes, no chains, just trust. Somewhere between that burial and the present moment, cats went from pest control to family. Egypt, though, would make them divine. In that golden river kingdom, cats rose from useful to sacred. The Egyptians saw in them the embodiment of Maat, balance, grace, protection. Their goddess Bastet watched over homes and mothers, depicted with a lioness's head softening into that of a domestic cat as centuries passed. To harm a cat in ancient Egypt was unthinkable. Historical records speak of crowds weeping if one died, of families shaving their eyebrows in mourning. Even in death, cats were mummified with care, wrapped in linen, eyes painted on the wrappings so they could still see into eternity. It's tempting to laugh at that devotion. But if you've ever lost a pet and felt the strange quiet that follows, maybe the Egyptians weren't so far off. They just said out loud what we still feel in private, that a cat's presence carries a calm you can't quite explain. Trade spread Egyptian cats across the Mediterranean. Sailors loved them for their hunting skills, merchants for their companionship. A ship without a cat was an unlucky one. By the time Rome rose, cats padded through villas and alleyways alike, comfortable in marble halls or trash-strewn streets. The Romans admired practicality. They didn't worship cats, but they respected them. They saw what we still see, creatures that ask for nothing and give tranquility simply by existing. Yet even empires collapse. And when Rome fell, cats were swept into the superstition of the medieval mind. To some, they remained protectors of food stores. To others, they became suspicious shadows linked to witchcraft and the devil. Black cats suffered most, their color twisted into omen. Still they endured. They always endure. Even in the darkest centuries, cats lived where humans lived: barns, taverns, monasteries purring through plagues, warming laps by candlelight, keeping the world's small fires alive. There's a lesson in that quiet persistence. Civilization shifts like sand, but cats remain. The same way they adapt to any home, any couch, any climate, they adapted to our history. A creature built for survival has learned to survive even our fears. Let's pause here. Take a breath. Notice the soft rhythm of your own breathing. The gentle thud of a heart that's somehow connected to those ancient beats of paws on stone floors. Imagine one of those medieval cats curled beside a flickering candle in a monk's cell, eyes half closed as the scribe writes by hand the story of creation. The quill scratches, the cat's tail flicks. Outside, wind howls through cold cloisters. Inside, there's warmth, fur, and a sense of something unchanged. People often say cats don't love, that they're aloof. But maybe what they offer isn't affection as we define it. It's presence. A living reminder that not everything valuable must be loud or obedient. Sometimes love is a quiet creature who chooses to stay. Over centuries, sailors carried cats to every corner of the world. Viking longships had them. So did Chinese junks, Portuguese caravels, and British merchant vessels. Each voyage left descendants on new shores, descendants that would shape breeds like the Norwegian forest cat, the Siamese, the Persian, and the Japanese bobtail. The global spread of cats was a side effect of human curiosity. Wherever we went, we took a little purr of home with us. By the 18th and 19th centuries, cats began their slow transformation from utility to luxury. Industrial cities swarmed with rodents, and once again cats proved their worth. But in parlors and salons, something gentler happened. Artists painted them, poets compared them to mystery and moonlight, writers like Poe and Baudelaire found in cats a mirror of human melancholy creatures that slept all day yet seemed to know secrets we'd forgotten. Even science took note. Charles Darwin, ever the observer, once wrote that if you trace ecological chains backward, you might find that the number of flowers in a field could depend on the presence of cats, because cats eat mice, mice eat bees, and bees pollinate blossoms. The world, he implied, is held together by quiet relationships we rarely notice. Cats are one of those threads. And now here we are, thousands of years later, with cats not only surviving, but dominating the digital age. They've conquered the internet with the same calm inevitability with which they conquered our couches. From hieroglyphs to hashtags, from Bastet to memes, they've never stopped evolving with us. Yet underneath it all, beneath the fluff and the filters, they're still those same twilight hunters, Proailurus grandchildren, stretching, yawning, calculating distance before a pounce. Maybe that's why their presence soothes us. When a cat curls beside you, it feels like time itself is resting. The same creature that prowled primeval forests now purrs on your chest. Evolution's long road folds into a single rhythmic sound, purr in, purr out. The noise of survival turned into a lullaby. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine that first wildcat stepping into a human campfire's glow. Dust in the air, sparks rising like fireflies, the humans freeze. The cat hesitates. Then, with a slow blink, it sits. Not tame, not owned, just present. A truce older than memory. A friendship written not in words but in warmth, and if you listen closely, maybe you can still hear it, the faint whisper of paws through history, the soft heartbeat of an ancient agreement that continues each time you reach out and feel fur beneath your hand. The fire crackles softly in our imagination. That first cat from the wild still sits near the human camp, its tail wrapping neatly around its paws. The humans toss bits of food toward it, curious but cautious, and the animal's golden eyes gleam like coins in the dusk. A simple moment, a glance, a heartbeat, yet one that changed the course of history in ways neither species could comprehend. The bond between human and cat was never sealed with loyalty or training. It wasn't a partnership forged in commands, like dogs, or in burden, like horses. It was something subtler, a shared comfort in coexistence. Humans respected the cat's independence, and cats tolerated our presence. Over time, the relationship deepened, not through obedience, but through quiet understanding. In those early villages of the Fertile Crescent, cats became ghosts of the night. They slipped through granaries, their footsteps whispering against the dirt floors, their eyes catching moonlight like twin lanterns. The people began to notice that wherever cats prowled, their stores of barley and wheat stayed untouched by rodents. It must have seemed like magic, these mysterious creatures protecting their food from unseen invaders. Slowly, cats were welcomed, not as servants, but as symbols. Their stealth became grace, their silence became wisdom. The Egyptians, ever attentive to symbolism, were the first to look at a cat and see something divine. In their art, cats appear everywhere, perched beneath chairs, lounging beside noble women, peering from painted reeds. They weren't mere decoration. They were guardians, both of the home and the soul. Bastet, the goddess of protection and fertility, began as a fierce lioness but softened over centuries into a domestic cat, a creature of tenderness and power combined. Her temples overflowed with feline mummies, offerings from devotees who believed their cats would accompany them into the afterlife. Imagine the scene, thousands of years ago, the sun setting behind the pyramids, the air warm and heavy with incense. A priest carries a linen-wrapped cat into a small chamber lined with hundreds of others, each one carefully placed, their features painted with care, each a token of gratitude to Bastet. Outside, cats roam freely among the worshippers, tails high, unbothered by their sacred reputation. Even the pharaohs, who saw themselves as gods, revered these animals. Cats were kept in royal households, pampered with milk and honey. To harm one was to insult divinity itself. There are records of entire villages punished when a cat was killed, even by accident. It's a devotion that seems excessive until you remember how fragile life was in those times, when every night carried threats, when every home needed protectors, both physical and spiritual. Cats were both. But, as all civilizations do, Egypt changed. Empires fell, temples crumbled, and the cats of Bastet found new paths. Through trade and conquest, they spread north into Greece, west into Rome, east along caravan routes that would one day form the Silk Road. In Greece, cats were admired for their elegance, though not quite adored. The Greeks already had weasels and ferrets for pest control, but they couldn't resist the feline's mysterious charm. Poets likened them to dancers, precise, aloof, endlessly self-contained. The philosopher Aristotle noted their keen hunting instincts with almost scientific awe. To him, a cat's reflexes were proof of nature's perfection, as if evolution had reached an artistic conclusion. When cats reached Rome, practicality took over. Romans valued efficiency. They saw cats as protectors of grain, guardians of ships, and companions of soldiers on long campaigns. The Roman army carried cats across Europe, and wherever their legions marched, cats followed silent conquerors behind the noisy ones. Imagine the contrast: armored men shouting in Latin, marching under banners of the eagle, while small striped cats slink between their tents at night, catching mice, curling up on cloaks. Two empires, one of men, one of fur, expanding together without ever agreeing to it. But history, like a cat's mood, shifts suddenly. When the Roman Empire began to crumble, superstition crept in. In medieval Europe, mystery became mistrust. Anything that could not be easily explained was branded dangerous, and cats, creatures of shadows and silence, fit the mold too well. It's strange to think how quickly reverence can turn into fear. One century, cats were divine. The next, they were demons. Their independence, once admired, became suspicious. Black cats in particular bore the brunt of it. Their color, associated with night and the unknown, made them targets of human ignorance. In the Middle Ages, people whispered that witches kept cats as familiars, spirits of the devil that aided in spells. Some towns even held grim rituals, burning or drowning cats in the name of cleansing evil. Ironically, this cruelty invited real disaster. With fewer cats to control them, rat populations exploded, and with rats came fleas, and with fleas came plague. The Black Death swept through Europe in the 14th century, killing millions. People searched for causes, curses, sinners, stars out of alignment, but few realized that their war against cats had opened the door to catastrophe. Eventually, desperate for any advantage, humans brought cats back. Reluctantly at first, then gratefully. Once again, the silent hunters proved their worth. They always do. If you close your eyes now, you can almost picture it. A cobblestone alley in medieval Europe, fog rolling in from the river, the faint flicker of torches on stone. A cat slinks between barrels, its tail brushing walls slick with rain. Inside a nearby house, A family prays for safety as sickness stalks the streets. Outside, the cat hunts. It doesn't know of gods or plagues, only movement and sound and the eternal rhythm of survival. By the time the Renaissance dawned, cats had quietly reclaimed their place beside humanity. Artists painted them lounging near saints and scholars, symbols of intellect and poise. Leonardo da Vinci adored them. He sketched them in dozens of poses, stretching, leaping, grooming, trying to capture the essence of motion that defied geometry. The smallest feline, he once wrote, is a masterpiece. He was right. Even now, no designer, no engineer, no god of machinery has made something so balanced a creature that can fall from heights that would shatter us and land like a whisper, turn chaos into elegance in a single bound. As Europe expanded across the seas, cats became passengers once more. On ships bound for the New World, they were indispensable. Mice could destroy food stores, chew ropes, and gnaw through sails. A single cat could save a voyage. Sailors treated them with a strange mix of respect and superstition, mascots of luck and survival. Some believed a cat could calm storms, others that it could summon them if angered. Either way, the wise sailor kept the ship's cat well fed. These feline travelers spread across continents, mingling with local wildcats, giving rise to new varieties. In Asia, the Siamese cat emerged. Its pale coat and deep sapphire eyes so striking, it became the stuff of legend. In Persia, long-haired cats evolved in cool mountain climates, their fur flowing like silk. In Japan, the bobtail became a symbol of fortune, its raised paw greeting luck itself. Each culture interpreted the cat differently, but all saw something worth admiring. Beauty, grace, independence, qualities humans longed for, but rarely achieved. Meanwhile, back in Europe, a quieter revolution was taking place. The Age of Enlightenment, with its emphasis on observation and reason, began to study cats not as omens, but as organisms. Naturalists recorded their habits. Artists captured their anatomy. Cats were no longer mystical or monstrous, they were fascinating. By the 1800s, cats had fully infiltrated human homes, no longer just as mouses but as companions. The Victorians, with their flair for sentimentality, adored them. Cat shows were held in London, and suddenly breeds were categorized, judged, and celebrated. The domestic cat had officially entered society. Of course, not everyone loved them. Some writers called them selfish, others saw in their cool detachment a reminder of the parts of ourselves we'd rather not face: independence, mystery, quiet judgment. But those who did love them found that a cat's presence could fill a room like soft music. No effort, no words, just calm. There's something healing in that quiet companionship. Studies today show that the sound of a cat's purr can lower stress, even heal minor tissue injuries through its vibration frequency. The same sound that once echoed through ancient temples now soothes hospital patients and sleepless souls. Evolution's lullaby, unchanged. Think about it. Somewhere out there right now, under a sky stitched with stars, a cat is purring on a windowsill in Cairo. Another dozes beside a fisherman in Tokyo. A kitten curls beneath a lamppost in Rome. And maybe yours, wherever you are, has just turned in a slow circle before settling against your arm. The species may have changed, civilizations may have risen and fallen, but the rhythm remains the same: soft breathing, soft warmth, soft trust. They say humans tamed fire and built cities, but maybe what truly marks civilization is this: that we built a world calm enough for a creature like a cat to fall asleep in our presence. Our bond has grown stranger, too. Cats are the only domesticated animals that still behave, in almost every way, like wild predators. They stalk invisible prey, knead imaginary grass, and gaze at us with eyes that don't quite look up to us, they look through us. And yet, despite this wildness, they stay. That paradox fascinates me. In the modern home, the cat reigns supreme. It claims your pillow, dictates your schedule, and ignores your calls until it decides otherwise. And we let it because deep down we understand that to love a cat is to accept that love can't be commanded, it has to be invited. Every time a cat curls into your lap, it's echoing that ancient decision, the one made at the edge of a campfire 10,000 years ago. I'll stay, it seems to say, for now, and that's enough. Sometimes I imagine what future archaeologists might think if they unearth our homes thousands of years from now. They'll find cat toys, bowls, litter boxes, photos of whiskered faces pinned on refrigerators. They might wonder who ruled whom. Maybe they'll think cats domesticated us. And they wouldn't be wrong. Even science suggests it. Recent genetic studies show that house cats share nearly 95% of their DNA with wildcats. Unlike dogs, who were bred into thousands of variations, cats changed little. We shaped their colors, their coats, their size, but not their souls. They remain fundamentally wild creatures who simply chose the comfort of our homes. And somehow, that's comforting, that in a world we've tried to control, there's still something untamed sleeping beside us. The story of cats is, in many ways, the story of quiet resilience. They survived ice ages, empires, witch hunts, and industrial smog. They crossed oceans and deserts, hid in ruins and palaces alike. They watched humanity grow from hunters to astronauts. And through it all, they never stopped being themselves. If you listen now, maybe you can hear that purr again, the same ancient sound vibrating through time, the song of survival, patience, and peace. And as the night deepens around us, maybe the best way to honor that journey is to simply rest, like the cat. No worry for the past, no fear for the future, just the soft certainty of the present moment, warm and still. Because if evolution teaches anything, it's that life finds balance, and few creatures embody balance better than the cat, half wild, half home, half predator, half poet. So let yourself drift. Let your breathing slow to match that rhythm. You've earned it. The story will wait until morning, the cat always does. Dawn seeps into the imaginary sky above our story, pale and silent. The kind of morning where sound feels soft around the edges. Somewhere a cat yawns, stretching its spine like a bowstring before settling again. The world keeps turning, and the long thread of feline history winds onward. When the industrial age dawned, humanity traded the rhythm of the seasons for the ticking of clocks. Steam hissed through cities, factories clattered, and the night itself was invaded by gaslight. For most animals, this new world was an assault, a noise that never stopped. But cats adapted the way they always do, by listening, waiting, and finding pockets of quiet in the chaos. Picture London in 1850, cobblestone streets slick with rain, lamplight shimmering on puddles, the distant cry of a newspaper boy echoing through the fog. Under a bakery window, warmth drifts out into the night. A tabby crouches there, eyes half closed, tail flicking as it waits for the baker to toss out scraps. Above, in an apartment room lined with books, a poet writes by candlelight. His cat sits nearby, watching the flame with the same detached fascination it once gave to the fires of a Stone Age camp. The world had changed beyond recognition, but the cat had not. Victorian society, obsessed with order and classification, turned even affection into taxonomy. They made breeds. They built cages of silver and velvet for competition. The first cat show, held at London's Crystal Palace in 1871, gathered Persians, Manxes, and long-haired curiosities under glass domes while spectators whispered as though in church. It was the moment the cat became not just a companion, but a spectacle. Yet even on display behind polished brass rails, the cats lay down and blinked slowly, unimpressed. That indifference is part of why people adore them. Dogs beg to please. Cats remind us that approval is not the same as love. A cat teaches you patience, the soft art of earning trust instead of demanding it. Victorians, with their stiff collars and stricter emotions, must have found comfort in that quiet resistance. In parlors across England, portraits of women began to include cats draped across laps or perched on chairs. The painters understood that a cat made any scene feel intimate, a secret shared only between subject and viewer. The poets followed. Wordsworth wrote of gentleness and grace. Christina Rossetti saw in cats the same mystery she saw in prayer. Even Edgar Allan Poe, wrapped in his own darkness, adored them. "I wish I could write as mysterious as a cat," he said, and perhaps he did. Across the ocean, in the growing cities of America, cats found new ground to rule. Immigrant ships brought them by the dozens, each litter borne in straw-lined barrels somewhere between Liverpool and New York. By the time the Statue of Liberty was erected, the docks swarmed with cats, descendants of 1,000 voyages, prowling warehouses and alleys, with the calm entitlement of old gods inspecting new temples. They were everywhere, in saloons, on farms, in printing presses where typesetters left saucers of milk beside stacks of newsprint. Some became mascots of firehouses or railway stations. One famous cat, Station Master Tama of Japan much later, would greet commuters with a ceremonial nod, proving that even in the age of schedules and steel, the universe still found time for whiskers. But before Tama, before Instagram, before canned food and jingling collars, cats survived in the cracks of modernity. The Great War came, and soldiers in trenches kept kittens in their pockets, living warmth in a world gone cold. Photographs show them cradling these tiny lives, a strange tenderness amid barbed wire and ruin. Some say cats could sense shelling before it began, their ears twitching seconds before the ground shook. Maybe they were just listening better than we could. After the wars, cities rebuilt and homes grew smaller but brighter. Television flickered, refrigerators hummed, and couches became thrones. Cats, ever pragmatic, declared dominion over all of it. The modern household was their kingdom, climate-controlled, predator-free, endlessly nap-friendly. Science, now fluent in genetics, began tracing their ancestry like detectives following paw prints through time. Mitochondrial DNA mapped back to that same African wildcat, Felis libica, confirming what intuition already knew, that every purr in every apartment is an echo of desert wind through ancient reeds. Think of that lineage for a moment. The cat on your blanket is kin to the hunters that stalked Nile fields and Syrian dunes. Its heartbeat carries the rhythm of 10,000 dawns. Evolution has refined it, not into something new, but into something perfect, a design so flawless it required only polish. Yet, for all our study, some part of the cat remains unmeasured. Scientists can chart their genome, but not their gaze. That look, the slow blink, the calm that feels like comprehension, belongs to the unknowable. When a cat stares at nothing, perhaps it sees everything. Night after night, people record them, paint them, dream of them. The internet fills with endless loops of feline curiosity, paws patting cameras, eyes following laser dots, tails curling in hypnotic rhythm. In a world addicted to distraction, cats became the antidote, a soft focus that quiets the noise. There's a reason sleep channels, like this one, often use cats as metaphors. They embody rest without effort. Watch one long enough and you remember how to breathe properly. Watch two and you start to understand companionship that requires no words. Imagine now a timeline stretching from that first Proailurus, leaping through Miocene forests to your living room tonight. Millions of years of evolution compressed into a single stretch, a single purr. It's humbling. We spend our lives chasing progress, yet the cat achieved contentment eons ago. As humanity shot rockets into orbit, cats simply looked up at the moon they'd been basking under since before language and yawned. When astronauts brought one unofficially aboard a French capsule in the 1960s, Félicette, the first cat in space, she floated briefly among the stars, the descendant of desert hunters now orbiting silence itself. She returned safely, her heart rate recorded, her legacy oddly poetic, the first feline to prove that curiosity really can reach the heavens. Back on Earth, the age of technology unfolded, and with it, a strange new habitat. Screens glowed where fires once burned, our attention scattered like starlings. Yet, cats adapted again. They learned that laptops are warm, that keyboards make excellent beds, that humans cannot resist photographing them. It's evolution's quiet joke: we built machines to connect with each other, and cats used them to conquer us instead. Still, beneath the humor, something ancient persists. When your cat curls against your leg, eyes half closed, it's not comfort alone that you feel. It's continuity, a thread unbroken since the first wildcat stepped into our circle of light. The same trust, the same shared stillness. Let's slow time down here. Picture the desert again. The stars so bright they paint the sand silver. A small shape moves between dunes, following the scent of grain, of fire, of people. It hesitates at the edge of the camp, listening to laughter and the soft crackle of embers. Then it steps closer, one step, then another. That was the moment everything began, not with a roar, but with a purr. History loves noise, but evolution favors quiet. The greatest transitions happen softly, feathers from scales, warmth from flame, friendship from fear. Cats remind us of that. They are evolution's whisper, proof that survival can be elegant. Now, as you listen, maybe there's a cat somewhere nearby, adjusting its position, turning once, twice before settling again. That motion, that instinctive spiral into comfort, is older than cities. It's older than the word sleep. When early mammals curled their bodies to conserve heat, they were inventing the circle, the geometry of rest. Cats perfected it, and we, watching them, learned what peace looked like. If there's wisdom in the natural world, it's written in their stillness. The patience before the pounce, the pause before the nap, both are the same discipline, energy held in harmony. We study mindfulness, they simply live it. Maybe that's why people who live alone often find solace in cats. Their presence fills silence without breaking it. They remind you that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. In a universe that often demands motion, a cat's calm is revolutionary. As centuries turned and humanity reached digital speed, cats remained analog, fur and breath and heartbeat. No updates required. They anchor us. Outside, cities pulse with light. Inside, a cat sleeps through it all, unbothered. Evolution has delivered its masterpiece and left it untouched, and maybe that's where we'll pause tonight. Let that image linger, a small creature asleep in the glow of screens, descendant of gods and hunters, dreaming the same dreams it always has of warm sand, soft grass, endless moonlight. If your eyes are heavy, let them close. If your cat is near, feel its quiet breathing mirror yours. The story continues tomorrow, but for now, like every wise creature before dawn, we rest. The night deepens again. Somewhere in the house, a cat moves so quietly that it sounds more like an idea than a sound. A soft pad on carpet, a faint shift of weight, the whisper of a tail brushing against air. It pauses by the window, eyes glowing faintly with reflected streetlight, and stares out at the dark world beyond. If you've ever watched a cat at night, you'll know that look, the calm alertness, the patient waiting for something invisible. To us, it's mystery. To them, it's instinct. That same look once gazed across deserts, jungles, forests, watching for the flicker of prey. It's the gaze of millions of years condensed into a single glance. We think of evolution as progress, but for cats, it's more like memory. Every motion they make feels rehearsed by time. The way they stalk, leap, land, stretch, it's not learned, It's remembered. The body knows what the mind never forgot. Inside those quiet eyes lies a map older than humanity. Somewhere in their lineage are saber-tooths, sleek ghosts of the Ice Age, whose fangs were longer than your hand. Once they prowled frozen plains where mammoths grazed. They were built for power, not patience, ambush predators, shadows with teeth. Their disappearance remains one of evolution's mysteries, but some scientists think their downfall came from specialization. They were too perfect for their moment in time. When prey changed, they couldn't adapt. The smaller cats, though, they learned flexibility. They learned humility. They didn't rely on sheer force. They relied on silence, on understanding rhythm, and in that adaptability they survived while titans vanished. Maybe there's a lesson there, hidden in fur and bone. It's not always strength that endures. Sometimes it's grace. If you close your eyes, you can almost imagine the great saber-toothed Smilodon fatalis watching from the shadow of a cave as the world warms. Grass replaces snow, new prey appear. The giant cat yawns a slow, resigned gesture, and the smaller ones move in. Evolution isn't cruel, it's simply indifferent. The big fade, the small persist, and from that persistence your living room companion was born. When we think of cats today, we see comfort, but under the surface lies wild machinery. Their senses remain tuned for the hunt. Their hearing picks up the ultrasonic squeak of a mouse through walls. Their eyes gather light 6 times better than ours. Their whiskers read air currents like radar. Every nap they take is a warrior's rest, the stillness before motion. Even their purr, that gentle hum of contentment, is a survival tool. Scientists still debate its origin. Some believe it's communication, a mother to her kittens, a signal of safety. Others think it's self-healing. The vibration, around 25 Hz, stimulates bone density and repairs tissue. A cat literally purrs itself whole. Humans took that sound and made it a lullaby. Maybe that's why we fall asleep faster when a cat purrs nearby. It's the sound of resilience disguised as peace. Picture a farmhouse 200 years ago, before electricity, before convenience. The night is cold, the wind slipping through wooden slats. A cat sleeps by the hearth, its fur flickering orange in firelight. Every so often it stirs, ears twitching. The farmer sleeps nearby, trusting that the soft sentinel will wake if the grain rustles. Outside the world freezes. Inside the cat keeps watch, a silent guardian wrapped in warmth. For thousands of nights, scenes like this played out across the planet. No contracts, no training, just coexistence. Humanity dreamed, and cats protected those dreams. When day returned, they disappeared into alleys and barns, returning only when hunger or affection called. They didn't need leashes or fences. Their loyalty was unspoken. And maybe that's why it felt real. As the modern age accelerated, cats followed quietly, slipping into apartments and city parks as easily as they once navigated grasslands. They adapted to our noise, but never joined it. Even now, in the busiest city, you can find one sitting perfectly still in a window, watching the chaos below with regal indifference. Sometimes I wonder if cats find us amusing, these restless primates who fill their days with endless motion, who invent clocks to measure time they never have enough of. Cats measure time differently. They live in moments, in sunlight patches, in the slow blink of trust. Watch a cat wake from a nap, the stretch, the yawn, the soft shake that sends a ripple down its back. There's no rush, no regret, no worry about the hours ahead. Just presence, complete, unbreakable presence. It's no wonder monks in some Buddhist monasteries kept cats. They understood what cats already knew: stillness isn't emptiness, it's awareness. In Japan, where spirituality and nature often intertwine, cats found a special place in culture. The maneki neko, the beckoning cat statue, waves its paw in countless shops and homes, inviting fortune to enter. Its origins trace back centuries to a legend of a poor monk and a cat who saved him from lightning by beckoning him into a temple. That gesture, one paw raised mid-wave, became a symbol of luck, compassion, and the mysterious way kindness echoes through time. It's fitting that the cat became a symbol of welcome rather than submission. Even in art, it never kneels, it simply gestures, inviting the world to approach on its terms. Across oceans, other legends bloomed. The Vikings carried cats on their ships, seeing them as companions of Freya, goddess of love and fertility, who drove a chariot pulled by giant cats. Sailors believed that a well-treated cat ensured calm seas. In ancient China, cats were thought to guard against evil spirits, their golden eyes catching ghosts in their glow. Every culture projected its fears and hopes onto these creatures, but the cats themselves remained unchanged, quietly independent, politely tolerant, endlessly watching. And then came the 20th century, the era of motion. Cars, planes, radios, screens. Humanity was louder than ever, but even then, cats found a way to fit between the gears of progress. They appeared on movie sets, curled beside typewriters, walked across piano keys in black and white films. Writers like Hemingway filled their homes with them, drawn to their mix of wildness and grace. He once wrote, "A cat has absolute emotional honesty. Human beings, for one reason or another, may hide their feelings, but a cat does not." He was right. Cats don't pretend. Their emotions are simple and complete. Hunger, curiosity, affection, boredom, disdain, all expressed without apology. In a world obsessed with pretending, that honesty feels like peace. Hemingway's home in Key West still houses dozens of cats, descendants of his original polydactyls, cats with extra toes like tiny mittens. They roam freely, sleeping on furniture older than most visitors, utterly unbothered by time or fame. That's the essence of their species, permanence wrapped in impermanence. You can measure the arc of civilization by the way we treat our cats. Once worshipped, then feared, now adored again. From temples to TikTok, they've kept their dignity intact. We've built skyscrapers and sent probes to Mars, yet we still pause when a cat walks into the room. We still whisper, "Hi, buddy," as if greeting royalty. Maybe in some quiet way we remember what they taught us, that survival can be soft, that power can be silent. There's an old saying, dogs look up to you, cats look down on you, pigs treat you as equals. But perhaps cats don't look down at all. Perhaps they look inward, and if we're lucky, they invite us to do the same. So as you listen, imagine a thread stretching from that first wild paw print in ancient dust to the one pressed faintly into your bed sheets tonight. That thread weaves through every home, every era, a golden line connecting predator and poet, hunter and dreamer. We like to think we domesticated the cat. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they domesticated something in us, our restlessness, our loneliness, our need to control. Maybe they taught us how to sit still. Outside, somewhere in the dark, a cat hunts. Not for food, but for rhythm, the perfect balance between motion and silence. Inside, you breathe slower, following that same rhythm. The story continues, but not loudly. Evolution rarely shouts, it purrs. The hours slip away quietly like sand through fur. The moon has shifted, the night feels softer, and the world outside your window hums with the same quiet pulse it's always had. Somewhere, a cat turns over in its sleep, stretching out one paw, dreaming of something so simple, so ancient, it doesn't even have a name. In the dream there's movement, the flutter of grass, the whisper of prey. A heartbeat quickens, the world holds its breath. Then a pounce, a soft thud, and silence again. It's a ritual older than language, carved into the species' memory like music on a record. Every cat you've ever met carries that melody inside them, but not all cats dream of the hunt. Over thousands of years, as we built walls higher and streets louder, some chose a different path. They became watchers, not hunters, observers of our strange human lives, and we, in turn, became their caretakers, or at least their staff. Look around any city. You'll find them in alleys, on rooftops, in abandoned courtyards. The street cats, survivors of both evolution and urbanization. They live parallel to us, part of our civilization, but never quite belonging to it. Some avoid people completely, while others appear like ghosts when the world grows quiet, brushing against a stranger's ankle before vanishing into the night. Even feral cats follow patterns of community, forming colonies ruled by unspoken order. They share food sources, raise kittens cooperatively, and defend territory with the same ancient seriousness as lions on the savannah. Biologists studying these colonies realized something remarkable. Domestication didn't erase the cat's social intelligence. It simply reshaped it. They live alone when they can, together when they must. Freedom balanced with adaptation, nature's perfect compromise. There's a street in Istanbul where hundreds of cats live openly among people. They wander through cafes, curl up in bookstores, nap on parked scooters. Locals feed them without claiming them. The cats belong to everyone and no one, a living relic of that first unspoken pact between species. Tourists call it charming. The people there just call it normal. It's been that way for centuries. Somewhere in those narrow alleys, a child places a bowl of milk on a doorstep, and a cat appears from the shadows, eyes like liquid amber. That simple act, hand to bowl, bowl to cat, is evolution made visible, cooperation as quiet as breathing. But let's step back, beyond the cities, beyond the comfort of blankets and lamps. Let's wander again into wildness where the cat's story still unfolds in its original form. Across Africa, descendants of those first wildcats still roam, sleek, cautious, nearly indistinguishable from their domesticated kin, except for their sharper instincts and their refusal to trust. In the scrublands, they stalk birds and rodents, tails low, shoulders rippling beneath tawny fur. Their pupils widen in the fading light, twin crescents of focus. These are the ancestors that refused our fires, that chose solitude over symbiosis. And yet, genetically, they are barely different from the purring creature in your living room. It's astonishing how little evolution had to do to make them ours. A few genes here, a few behavioral tweaks there, and a predator became a friend or something close to it. On other continents, the cat family diversified in astonishing ways. In South America, the margay evolved to hunt in trees, its ankles rotating enough to climb down headfirst like a squirrel. In Asia, the fishing cat learned to swim, diving paws first into muddy rivers after fish, its fur layered with natural oil to repel water. In the high Himalayas, the Pallas cat crouched among rocks, round and dense as a snowball, surviving winters that would kill most life, each a variation on the same design: agility, patience, poise. Evolution's brush painted them in countless forms, but never changed the essence. The cat remained the cat. When people first encountered these wild cousins, they must have felt something familiar, a strange echo of recognition. Even before science explained lineage, we sensed kinship. The movement of a tail, the pause before a leap, the sound of a purr, all spoke to something deep and instinctual. We didn't just observe them. We saw ourselves reflected back. After all, humans are predators too. We share that forward-facing gaze, that hunger for independence. Maybe that's why we understand cats so easily, or pretend to. Maybe the bond isn't about difference, but similarity. In ancient stories, cats often represent duality, affection and danger, domesticity and wilderness, comfort and chaos. They're liminal creatures walking the boundary between home and the untamed world. That's why they appear so often at thresholds on windowsills, in doorways, at the edges of gardens. It's as though they guard the invisible border between what is known and what still waits beyond it. Sometimes I think we need that reminder that wildness is never gone, only sleeping. The cat is proof. The human world keeps changing, Concrete replaces grass, neon replaces stars. But in the quiet corners, cats still follow moonlight as if it's sacred. Their bodies remember landscapes we've forgotten. Watch a cat in a sunbeam, eyes half closed, tail twitching. What you're seeing isn't laziness, it's meditation. The cat is still part of nature's rhythm, still hearing a song we lost when we built walls. For all our control, we've never managed to change them. We can't make them fetch, can't make them guard, can't make them love on command. And maybe that's the secret to why they fascinate us. They remind us that some things cannot be owned, only shared. There's an almost spiritual equality between a human and a cat. When you look into those eyes, you don't see devotion like a dog's or fear like a prey animal's. You see acknowledgement, a quiet, wordless truce. You do your strange human things, the cat seems to say. I'll do mine. And yet somehow that distance comforts us. It's honest. In a world of noise, cats speak softly. In a world of rush, they move slowly. In a world of constant connection, they choose solitude. No wonder we find peace in their company. They live the life we keep promising ourselves live calm, content, unbothered. At night when the city grows still, cats reclaim the world. You might see them slipping through parking lots, leaping onto fences, vanishing under streetlights. The day belongs to us, the night to them. In those hours, the urban jungle becomes a reflection of the ancient plains again, shadows, silence, eyes gleaming from the dark. And somewhere in that twilight overlap, when the streets are empty and the world forgets its noise, the line between ancient and modern blurs. You can almost hear it, the low hum of a purr, blending with the distant rhythm of traffic. The two heartbeats of civilization beating in sync. Some philosophers say that cats are the last free spirits left in a domesticated world. Maybe that's true, but I think they're more than that. I think they're reminders that freedom doesn't have to mean isolation, that peace doesn't have to mean stillness. It can mean existing fully in your own nature without apology. If there's one thing cats teach, it's authenticity. They don't pretend to be what they're not. They don't chase approval. They simply are. And that's what evolution perfected, not just a body, but a way of being. Imagine for a moment that evolution isn't a process of improvement, but a process of remembering, of returning again and again to what works. The cat, then, isn't nature's newest invention. It's her oldest memory, her most enduring poem. From Proailurus to Felis Catus, from desert wind to laptop warmth, their story hasn't really changed. It's still about balance between hunger and rest, solitude and affection, wildness and home. So as you lie there, eyes growing heavy, remember that you're part of that balance too. The cat's evolution is yours as well, both of you children of the same patient universe, both trying to find warmth in the dark. Let the image settle. A cat curled beside a campfire 10,000 years ago, another curled beside your pillow now. 2 points in time, one continuous thread of trust. That's the insane beauty of their evolution. Not the biology, not the genes, but the bond. The quiet agreement to share this world, this warmth, this moment. And as your thoughts drift, let them wander like a cat through dusk, slow, curious, unhurried. Let sleep come softly without chasing it. That's the way cats do it. They don't try to rest. They just let rest find them. The fire from the ancient camp fades into embers. The stars shimmer a little higher. For a moment, everything feels the same, past and present, woven together like threads of fur caught in soft light. A cat blinks slowly in the dark, and the world exhales with it. If you've ever felt that strange calm that settles over a room when a cat is near, you felt the echo of that long evolution, not just in biology, but in atmosphere. They changed the air itself. The Egyptians believed cats purified homes by their very presence, and perhaps they weren't wrong. Science might call it serotonin or reduced stress hormones, but maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe peace just recognizes itself. Every civilization that touched cats left a mark, and every cat left one back. When Japan carved its first maneki neko, when Norse myths spoke of Freya's chariot drawn by giant felines, when sailors whispered to ship cats before a storm, they weren't worshipping animals, they were acknowledging a pattern, a reminder that nature, when quiet, is still divine. Even today, in the hum of apartments and glow of phones, we keep little altars for them, scratching posts, cushions by the window, small bowls filled with offerings. They don't demand these things. We give them freely, instinctively, as though somewhere deep inside, we remember that worship used to look exactly like this, gentle, habitual, wordless. But evolution isn't finished, even for cats. As our world changes, so do they. Scientists studying urban felines have discovered subtle shifts, their diets, their hunting styles, even their communication. City cats meow more frequently than their rural cousins, not because they're more talkative by nature, but because they've learned we respond. The meow, once used only between mother and kitten, has become their language for us. They've evolved to speak human, and we in turn evolved to listen. You probably recognize your own cat's voice, the short, questioning chirp of curiosity, the long, dramatic wail of complaint, the faint trill of greeting. Each tone shaped by thousands of small successes. The ones that got attention survived. It's not speech in the way we define it, but it's closer than we think. The cat has tuned its voice to our ears. There's something poetic about that. We, the inventors of language, are trained by a creature that never needed it. And maybe somewhere in the grand scheme, that's the point. Cats remind us that communication isn't just sound. It's silence, body, gaze. The slow blink of trust carries more meaning than 1,000 words. You can whisper every day to someone and never be understood, yet one slow blink from a cat tells you you're safe here. When people first began to share homes with cats, they didn't teach them tricks. They didn't train them to guard, herd, or fetch. The bond was not utility, it was coexistence, a partnership without ownership. That's rare in nature, and rarer still in human history. Even today, that relationship remains almost philosophical. Cats exist beside us, not beneath us. We feed them, yes, but we also serve them, and somehow that feels right. Because deep down, we sense that what we're nurturing isn't just an animal, but a fragment of something eternal. If you've ever seen a cat step into sunlight and freeze, eyes half-lidded, whiskers trembling, you've seen what serenity looks like when it has a body. They don't chase happiness, they inhabit it. And that's why they're perfect for nights like this. Let's drift back again, through centuries and candlelight, to a time when people first began to study sleep itself. Long before neuroscience, long before we knew what REM meant, cats were the model for rest. Ancient observers noticed their rhythm, the way they'd nap in intervals, wake briefly, stretch, then drift back. Monks mimicked it in their meditation schedules. Early physicians studied their stillness, trying to learn why some creatures could rest so deeply and yet wake so instantly alert. That's another of evolution's miracles. Cats are always ready. Their brains toggle between vigilance and peace like a dimmer switch. Even in dreams, half of their mind listens for the rustle of wings or the squeak of movement. It's the cost of survival, and somehow it became beautiful. Maybe that's why so many people watch their cats sleep. It's not just endearing, it's hypnotic. The slow rhythmic breathing, the faint twitch of paws, the quiet pulse of a life completely at ease. For a species like ours, addicted to distraction, that stillness feels sacred. It's been said that cats spend 2/3 of their lives asleep. Imagine that. If they live 15 years, 10 are spent dreaming. In that sense, they are creatures made of twilight, never fully awake, never fully gone, living bridges between motion and rest. If evolution is the universe's experiment with balance, then the cat is its most successful prototype. Of course, not all of them dream in safety. Around the world, millions still wander without homes, feral, forgotten, surviving on instinct and grace. Yet even there, in hunger and hardship, they hold on to dignity. A street cat grooming itself under a broken streetlight is evolution refusing defeat. There's pride in that resilience, quiet, unshakable pride. And we, watching them, can learn from it, because survival isn't always grand battles or loud victories. Sometimes it's just cleaning your fur while the storm rages. Sometimes it's resting anyway. The first humans who buried cats beside them probably understood this intuitively. Archaeologists have found graves where humans and cats lie side by side, paws touching fingers. Thousands of years later, we still do the same, holding them as they pass, whispering thank you, feeling that strange, aching silence that follows. Love, after all, is just evolution learning empathy, and few creatures have taught us more about it than cats. In modern times, we try to measure everything: intelligence, emotion, empathy. We build tests for problem solving, for obedience, for recognition. Cats fail, most of them. They don't care for tests. But that doesn't make them less intelligent. It just means their intelligence doesn't bend to our expectations. Researchers found that cats can recognize their names, distinguish their owner's voice, even detect subtle mood changes. They simply choose when to respond. Selective participation, the highest form of intellect. If you've ever tried calling a cat and watched it glance at you, blink, and then turn away, you've witnessed quiet genius. That's not ignorance. That's awareness with priorities. They're philosophers in their own way. They live by a creed older than Stoicism. If it doesn't serve peace, ignore it. When we talk about the evolution of cats, we often focus on fossils, genetics, bones. But maybe the real evolution happened in us, in our ability to share space without control. Cats taught humanity how to coexist with something that doesn't need us. There's a kind of enlightenment. Imagine what that first wildcat taught the farmer, that some partnerships thrive without ownership. That harmony doesn't require command. It's a concept modern societies still struggle with, yet every cat on every porch proves it nightly. As civilization sprawled, as machines grew louder, cats became our counterpoint, the stillness between our sounds. You can walk through a city at midnight and find one perched on a wall, eyes gleaming like street lamps reflected in rain. In that single image, you see balance restored, chaos and calm sharing the same frame. Their evolution isn't just biological, it's spiritual. From divine symbol to companion, from hunter to healer. They've adapted not by changing themselves, but by changing how we see them. And what we see now, perhaps more than ever, is reflection. In every stretch, every yawn, every pause, we glimpse a version of ourselves. We've forgotten the self that isn't striving, competing, rushing, the self that simply exists. So when your cat curls against your arm tonight, or sits watching the window as rain falls, think of it not as a pet, but as a messenger from nature, from time, from a quieter world. A reminder that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you remember. Outside, the night deepens further, the city slows. Somewhere, a stray tucks itself into a cardboard shelter, purring faintly against the cold. Somewhere else, a child falls asleep to the sound of that same vibration, dreaming of warmth. Two lives connected by the same frequency, the universal hum of safety. It's strange, isn't it? After all the wars, the inventions, the noise, the thing that calms us most is still a creature that asks for nothing, a cat, sleeping. And maybe that's the truest definition of evolution's success. When a species learns not just how to survive, but how to bring serenity to others simply by existing. As the night begins to thin, as the horizon lightens just enough to turn shadows silver, a cat will stir. It'll blink, stretch, and look around, aware, ready, unchanged. It doesn't need an alarm. a purpose or a reason. The world wakes because it does. And we, without even realizing it, wake with it. The world begins to lighten, but the night hasn't quite surrendered. It's that blue hour, that in-between place where silence still reigns, but light begins to breathe. A cat moves through it like a ghost stitched to reality, fur glowing faintly as it crosses the thin veil between darkness and dawn. We rarely think of cats as creatures of transition, but that's exactly what they are. They live in the thresholds not quite wild, not quite tame, not of day, not of night. Evolution, it seems, favors balance more than extremes. Maybe that's why humans found comfort in them. Because we too are creatures suspended between instincts and intellect, between earth and imagination. In the cat, we recognized ourselves refined, distant, yet desperately seeking warmth. Think of early morning anywhere in the world. A fisherman in Greece tying nets while a cat sits nearby, tail curled around its feet, waiting for a small gift from the sea. Or a baker in Paris, opening his shop before sunrise as a cat curls beside the oven, catching the first waves of heat. Or a student in Tokyo, alone at a desk, studying under the glow of a lamp, while a cat perches nearby, eyes half closed, purring quietly into the stillness. Different people, different worlds, same companion. It's easy to forget how miraculous that is. No treaty was signed between species. No law declared this alliance. Yet here we are, 10,000 years after that first wildcat wandered into a human camp, still living side by side. Maybe that's why we find cats so endlessly fascinating. They remind us that peace can emerge without permission, that harmony doesn't always need a reason. When scientists mapped the genome of the domestic cat, they found that it diverged only slightly from the African wildcat, just enough to allow it to tolerate human proximity, to purr more readily, to meow more often. A handful of genetic tweaks turned a solitary hunter into a household deity. And yet, beneath the fur and familiarity, the wilderness still pulses. That duality defines them. They're wild, wrapped in comfort, soft fur over steel reflexes, serenity masking ferocity. A yin and yang that never quite resolves. If you've ever seen a cat leap from stillness to motion in a flash so smooth it seems rehearsed, you've seen the poetry of evolution perfected. Muscles coil, eyes lock, claws unsheathe. Gravity is briefly defied. Every atom knows exactly what to do, and then, as quickly as it began, stillness returns. That's the cat's way. Action without effort, peace without surrender. It's hard not to envy that. Humans spend lifetimes chasing what cats seem born knowing. How to exist fully in the present moment. How to trust instinct without anxiety. How to move through the world with both purpose and ease. It's no wonder they've become symbols of mindfulness. Entire art forms have grown from watching them. In Japan, the gentle rhythm of Neko no Kyusoku, the cat's rest, inspired meditative poses in traditional art. The concept wasn't laziness, it was mastery of balance. The idea that true calm comes not from inactivity, but from harmony between energy and stillness. Artists have always understood this. Look at the way painters capture cats, the relaxed elegance of a curled body, the half-turn of an ear, the soft intelligence in their eyes. Leonardo da Vinci, who studied anatomy and engineering and the flight of birds, once said that cats were nature's finest mechanical invention. He wasn't wrong. Everything about them is precision wrapped in poetry. And yet, for all their elegance, cats can be ridiculous, knocking things off shelves, chasing invisible ghosts, sprinting at 3 in the morning for no reason at all. But even that chaos feels calculated, a reminder that freedom includes foolishness. There's something reassuring about that. We're all a little absurd sometimes. Even evolution's masterpiece. As cities grew taller, cats climbed with them, rooftops became jungles, balconies turned into cliffs. The modern feline learned to navigate our artificial landscapes with the same grace it once used among trees. Architects even studied their balance to design better robots, better drones, as if by decoding their movement we might learn something about perfection. And still they remain unbothered by our fascination. We record them endlessly, billions of videos, each one proving the same truth that we can't stop watching them. They've become our global muse, our collective lullaby. There's no language barrier in a purr, no culture that doesn't understand a slow blink. The internet, that vast reflection of human curiosity, crowned them emperors long ago. And why not? They embody everything we wish to be in a digital age. Calm amid chaos, detached yet adored, mysterious but relatable. Some might laugh at how much the world revolves around cats online, but perhaps it's not trivial at all. Maybe it's an evolutionary echo, a modern version of the same impulse that once led Egyptians to carve them in stone. We're still paying tribute, just in pixels instead of paint. There's comfort in repetition, a cat stretching, a cat sleeping, a cat gazing at nothing. We never tire of it, because in those tiny moments we see constancy in a world that refuses to slow down. In that way, cats are more than pets, they're anchors. Every flick of a tail reminds us that stillness still exists somewhere, even if we've forgotten how to find it ourselves. Perhaps that's why they show up in our dreams so often. Across cultures, dreaming of a cat symbolizes intuition, mystery, independence. Some say it's a sign to trust your instincts. Others believe it's a reminder to rest. Either way, the message is the same. Remember who you are beneath the noise. Cats have always known who they are. That's why we admire them. When they look at us, they don't see a master or a savior. They see another being, sometimes amusing, often clumsy, occasionally kind. That equality unnerves people who crave hierarchy, but it's exactly what makes the cat's companionship so pure. It's not based on dominance or submission, but mutual acceptance. If you think about it, that's rare, even among humans. A cat doesn't need your approval to exist. It just exists. And somehow that gives you permission to do the same. There's a moment, right before you fall asleep, when thoughts start to blur. When words fade and images soften. When the mind drifts just enough to let go of the day. That's where cats live permanently, halfway between awareness and dream, always alert, never anxious, always ready, never restless. Evolution made them that way for survival. We, who spend our days chasing schedules and deadlines, can only visit that state briefly, but maybe that's why we keep them close, to remind us that peace isn't a destination, it's a rhythm. Listen for it now if you can. The slow purr, the gentle hum of air, the heartbeat of something ancient curled against you. That's the sound of millions of years distilled into contentment. And while it might seem like cats conquered us, filling our homes, our screens, our hearts, maybe it's more mutual than we admit. Maybe we evolved to deserve them, to create a world safe enough for something so delicate, so wild to trust us again. That's the quiet victory of our species. Not fire, not tools, but tenderness. In the grand arc of time, the cat's story runs parallel to ours, intersecting, separating, weaving back together. From prehistoric forests to medieval hearths to modern high-rises, they've walked beside us like living shadows. We shaped their world, and they shaped our hearts. And if you listen closely enough, you can still hear the echo of that first meeting, the crackle of fire, the slow approach, the decision to stay. It repeats every time a cat curls beside you, every time you reach out your hand and feel the weight of trust in return. It's easy to forget how fragile that trust is. Wildness never fully leaves. Even the tamest house cat carries lightning under its skin. But perhaps that's the point, love, like evolution, needs a little wildness to stay alive. As dawn finally breaks and the first light touches the horizon, a cat sits on a windowsill, tail wrapped neatly, eyes fixed on the rising sun. It blinks once, slowly, as if acknowledging the day. then turns and disappears into the house. The sun warms the sill where it sat, and for a moment the world feels perfectly aligned. That's the legacy of their evolution, not domination, not servitude, but balance. So, as the light grows stronger and the sounds of morning return, remember this. The story of cats isn't just their story, it's ours too. The evolution of companionship, the soft triumph of coexistence, the proof that even in a universe of noise and chaos, something quiet can survive. Let that thought settle, let it move through you like warmth. You don't have to chase it or hold it, just breathe. The cat doesn't force peace, it becomes it, and so can you. The sun climbs higher now, warming the edges of windows, painting the world in quiet gold. Inside, a cat stretches, jaws parting in a long yawn that feels as ancient as time itself. It's a motion performed by millions before it, the same arch of spine, the same flick of tail, the body remembering its lineage. Somewhere, another cat does the same, half a world away, one on a balcony in Italy, another beneath a palm tree in Morocco, another in a mountain village where the morning smells of snow, all of them linked by the same rhythm, the same silent inheritance of survival and serenity. That's the strange thing about evolution, it never really ends, but it also never forgets. Every breath a cat takes carries the memory of the ones who came before, the wildcat crouching in tall grass, the temple guardian basking in sunlight, the shipboard mouser balancing on rolling waves. Their lives echo in the calm confidence of every modern feline. Even as the world changes, cats adapt without losing themselves. Their nature is so complete that progress barely touches it. A cat from ancient Egypt could walk into your home today, curl on your couch, and fit right in. Time hasn't had the heart to change them. If anything, it's we who changed around them. We built softer homes, warmer fires, gentler spaces, as though preparing for their comfort, not ours. We like to think we invited cats into our world, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we evolved to make space for them. In the modern home, everything seems designed with a cat in mind. Windowsills for sunbathing, blankets for burrowing, boxes for mystery. Even our schedules bend subtly toward theirs. We wake when they decide breakfast should happen. We move aside when they claim the chair. We pause our day to watch them play with shadows. It's not servitude. It's symbiosis disguised as routine. Scientists call cats semi-domesticated, which feels right. They're not ours entirely, and they never will be. They belong to the threshold between wilderness and warmth. That's what makes them endlessly fascinating. They remind us that love doesn't need possession. In their quiet way, they've taught us something about respect, how to share space with something we can't control. Every purr is a lesson in coexistence. Every uninterested glance is a reminder that not all affection looks like attention. It's funny how often humans crave the wrong kind of connection. We want constant reassurance, constant approval. Cats show us a softer version of affection that exists without performance. You don't have to earn it every moment. You just have to be gentle enough not to disturb it. In that sense, evolution didn't just create a perfect hunter. It created a teacher. There's a kind of wisdom in how cats interact with the world, how they observe before acting, how they conserve energy for the exact moment it's needed, how they can turn a single sunbeam into a sanctuary. You could call it instinct, but it feels like philosophy. In Japan, there's an old saying, the cat knows the way home. It doesn't mean geography. It means balance, that deep internal compass that guides them back to calm no matter where they wander. They can be lost for days, weeks even, and somehow reappear at your door, clean, composed, as if nothing happened. That's not luck. That's memory written into bone. We've tried for centuries to understand them, to map their minds the way we map stars, but cats resist analysis. They are, in the truest sense, unknowable. That's what keeps us watching. Mystery is the last luxury we have. When a cat looks at you, really looks, that slow, steady gaze, that feels like both judgment and understanding. It's not thinking in words. It's measuring, reading, seeing not your face, but your energy. And in that moment, you realize how loud you've been living. Their silence becomes a mirror for your noise. That's why, even in the most chaotic environments, a cat brings stillness. Hospitals, care homes, offices, wherever they appear, stress levels fall. Some therapy programs use cats now instead of dogs, because their presence lowers heart rates naturally. It's not magic, it's ancient biology at work. When a creature designed for survival relaxes completely in your presence, your nervous system listens. It says, if this predator feels safe, maybe I can too. Evolution built that trust into our wiring. Cats calm us, not because they mean to, but because they remind our bodies of peace. Some historians believe that cats shaped civilization more than we realize. Grain storage, agriculture, the stability of settlements all depended on keeping pests under control. Without cats, early societies might have crumbled under the weight of their own harvest. Humanity's first cities rose on the quiet shoulders of small hunters. Think of that. The world we live in, the buildings, the lights, the stories, all of it balanced on whiskers. And those whiskers, delicate as they are, hold entire worlds of perception, each one rooted deep, able to sense changes in air pressure, temperature, even the subtlest shift in movement. A cat's whiskers are an extension of its soul, invisible fingertips, feeling the world's breath. When you see a cat pause in a doorway, head turning slightly, it's not indecision. It's calculation. Whiskers mapping space, eyes gauging distance, muscles aligning for precision. That pause, that perfect second of nothing, contains more awareness than most of us bring to a lifetime of choices. We rush through everything. Cats savor the spaces between moments. Maybe that's why they always seem to land on their feet, not just physically, but existentially. They trust gravity the way we trust luck. And gravity, it seems, trusts them back. Scientists call it the righting reflex, the incredible ability to twist mid-air and land unharmed. It begins when they're only a few weeks old. A fall, a spin, a silent correction. Life offers chaos, and they answer with grace. There's a quiet lesson in that too. Not just how to land, but how to fall. Because evolution doesn't remove failure, it teaches recovery. And cats, more than any creature, embody that art. They slip, stumble, leap too soon, but they always recover with dignity intact. If you've ever seen a cat trip, you've seen the universe's best improvisation. A stumble turned into a stretch, an accident disguised as intention. Its survival rewritten as style. That might be why we project so much personality onto them. They remind us of who we wish we could be: adaptable, confident, unbothered by judgment. They don't hide their flaws, they incorporate them. Every misstep becomes part of the dance. Humans, in contrast, hide. We overthink, we explain. Cats simply continue. Even their eyes carry that calm resilience. Those vertical pupils, narrowing to slits in sunlight and widening to full moons at night, are masterpieces of adaptation. They allow cats to see in dim light, to read the dark like a book. In a single blink, their world expands or contracts effortlessly. No strain, no confusion, just adjustment. Maybe that's evolution's greatest gift: not progress, but adaptability. And so, as we sit here, wrapped in the quiet rhythm of their story, think about how much of the world has changed since that first wildcat wandered into the firelight. Continents shifted, empires rose and fell, machines replaced muscle, yet the cat remains unchanged in spirit, still curious, still calm, still sovereign. They don't need the future. They already mastered the present. That's what makes them so mesmerizing. When they walk into a room, time slows to match their pace. When they lie down, the world softens around them. They remind us that peace isn't the absence of movement, it's movement done with purpose. And maybe, in their quiet way, they've been evolving us too, teaching us patience, softness, perspective. We've learned to whisper instead of shout, to observe instead of react, to coexist instead of command. In that sense, the domestication of cats wasn't just biological, it was moral, because to live with a cat, truly live with one, you must accept uncertainty. You must learn that affection can't be demanded, that love can exist in silence, that companionship doesn't always require understanding. It's humbling and beautiful. So the next time your cat curls on your chest, vibrating softly against your heartbeat, remember you're not hearing just comfort. You're hearing evolution humming, a symphony of millions of years reduced to one continuous note of peace. And somewhere, out in the dark places of the world, wildcats still prowl under the same stars, their paws pressing prints into ancient soil. The song hasn't stopped, it's only changed rhythm. They are the same, and so are we, survivors of time, shaped by adaptation, searching for warmth. And as you breathe, slow and steady, maybe you feel it, that shared pulse between species. The same quiet truth written into every strand of fur, every heartbeat, every breath, that all of evolution's chaos was leading here, to stillness, to trust, to this small sleeping miracle beside you. The day has fully arrived now, sunlight resting lazily across the world like a cat across a windowsill. The air feels softer, calmer, as though even the light itself learned from their patience. Somewhere in the distance, birds sing half-heartedly, knowing their audience might be watching from the shade with quiet intent. Cats have always ruled daylight the same way they ruled darkness, quietly, without fanfare, without need for applause. They don't conquer spaces, they inhabit them, rearranging the energy until it belongs to them completely. That's another thing evolution perfected: presence. The cat's presence fills a room even when it's asleep, especially when it's asleep. There's no effort to it, no need to announce. It simply is. If you've ever had a cat sit beside you while you work, you've probably noticed how the atmosphere shifts. The tension in your shoulders fades, the sounds around you dull, even your breathing changes, sinking without thought to that soft, steady rhythm. You might call it coincidence, but biology has other words for it: resonance, synchronization, the nervous systems of two creatures aligning in quiet trust. Maybe that's why people who live with cats often feel less alone, even when no words are spoken. Companionship doesn't have to be loud to be complete. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors sat by fires and wondered at the same thing: how these small wild hunters could bring so much calm to the human heart. Maybe that's why they made them sacred, not because of fear or superstition, but because they recognized divinity in stillness. In some temples, priests believed cats were vessels for spirits, beings that could walk between worlds, guardians of dreams. They weren't entirely wrong. Watch a cat sleep and you'll understand. They travel somewhere unreachable, somewhere between here and elsewhere. And when they return, blinking slowly as if remembering which world they're in, they bring that stillness back with them. That's what cats give us: borrowed tranquility from places we've forgotten how to visit. Evolution shaped that calm for survival. A predator that twitches too soon misses its prey. A hunter that panics wastes energy. The cat's serenity isn't laziness, it's focus distilled. Every muscle at rest is ready. Every moment of stillness hides the possibility of motion. Even the way they walk is evolutionary poetry. Their back paws land exactly where their front paws just stepped, minimizing sound and maximizing precision. It's called direct registering, a gait shared only by perfect predators like foxes and tigers. If silence were a science, cats would hold its patent. That's what makes their movements so hypnotic. When a cat crosses a room, it's not just walking, it's demonstrating millions of years of refinement. Each step carries the ghost of survival, of patience rewarded, of instincts sharpened by time itself. But beneath that perfection lies vulnerability too. For all their balance and grace, cats depend on our world now as much as we depend on them. The stray in the alley, the kitten under the porch, their stories are threads in ours. We built the world that holds them, And we hold the responsibility that comes with it. That might be the next chapter in their evolution. Not physical change, but moral. How we choose to care for them defines what kind of species we've become. In some cities, shelters have become sanctuaries, quiet places filled with soft blankets and softer hands. People volunteer not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. Gratitude for the companionship that has lasted across millennia. Gratitude for the reminder that kindness, too, is an evolved instinct. Every time a frightened cat learns to trust again, evolution breathes a sigh of relief. The ancient partnership continues, and what a strange partnership it is. Most symbiotic relationships in nature involve clear exchange: food for protection, cleaning for safety, service for survival. But ours with cats is subtler. They don't protect us from predators anymore. We don't feed them for labor. What binds us now is emotional evolution, comfort for comfort, calm for calm. That might sound small, but it's revolutionary. To coexist without demand, to love without need, to share space without expectation. Nature rarely writes contracts like that. It's no wonder cats appear so often in our art and literature. They represent something we can't quite describe: independence without isolation, affection without dependency. They are in many ways the embodiment of peace with boundaries. Writers across centuries have tried to capture that paradox. T.S. Eliot called them practical yet mystical. Mark Twain said, "If man could be crossed with the cat, it would improve the man, but deteriorate the cat." Even Ernest Hemingway, gruff and unsentimental, kept dozens of them. He said they gave him the kind of company that didn't interrupt his thoughts. That's what cats offer: space that still feels full. And perhaps that's why they've conquered every medium we create. In paintings, they symbolize beauty; in poetry, mystery; in film and folklore, independence; on the internet, joy. They've become both muse and mirror, a reminder that the simplest things often carry the most meaning. Their story isn't one of conquest, but of endurance. While species have come and gone, while empires have turned to dust, cats have stayed the same. Quiet, steady, eternal. The secret to their success is subtlety. They don't force change, they flow through it. When humans built ships, cats went to sea. When we built trains, they rode the rails. When we built skyscrapers, they climbed them. They followed not out of obedience, but curiosity. That curiosity is their compass, and perhaps ours too. Imagine for a moment the future of cats. What will they become as we build new worlds, new homes, maybe even new planets? If humans ever walk on Mars, you can be sure a cat will walk beside them, silent, uninvited, entirely at ease. Because no matter where we go, we'll crave the comfort of something familiar, something alive that reminds us of home. Evolution doesn't stop, but its direction isn't always forward. Sometimes it circles back to warmth, to connection, to presence. Cats will evolve as they always have. Not by becoming something new, but by reminding us what we've lost. There's a quiet irony in that. We study them under microscopes, sequence their DNA, design smart feeders and robotic toys, yet what they teach us can't be digitized. It's not knowledge, it's wisdom. When a cat sits and stares into space, it's not boredom, it's awareness without aim, the same awareness monks spend lifetimes chasing. The kind that asks for nothing, proves nothing, simply is. And maybe that's why they've survived every era, because they don't resist the world. They adapt to it without losing their essence. They remain themselves, and the world adjusts around them. Even the smallest kitten carries that inheritance. Watch one learn to walk: the hesitation, the stumble, the immediate recovery. Evolution teaching balance through play. The same play that once sharpened claws for hunting now sharpens curiosity for living. Play is practice for survival, but also for joy. That's another secret cats carry. That survival and joy are not opposites. They are the same thing done without fear. That's what the purr really means, not just contentment, but safety. The sound of a creature so sure of its place in the world that it vibrates with life. And when we hear it, something in us responds. Our heart rate slows, our muscles unclench. The primitive part of our brain recognizes that sound and whispers, "All is well." That's the oldest sound of peace in the world, older than prayer, older than lullaby. The purr is evolution's hymn. If you listen now, in the hush between words, you might almost hear it, that steady hum under the noise of everything. It's in the wind through leaves, in the rhythm of the ocean, in the pulse of your own breath. The world itself purrs when it's calm. So maybe that's the true meaning of their evolution. Not claws, not fur, not the shift from forest to home, but the spreading of calm through existence, a species that taught the world how to breathe. Again, we call it the insane evolution of cats, but maybe it's not insane at all. Maybe it's the sanest thing that's ever happened, nature's way of reminding us that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums softly in the corner while you fall asleep. And as you do, as your thoughts slow and your body begins to settle, know that you're part of that same long story. You too evolved to seek warmth, to find stillness, to love quietly. You too carry the memory of peace in your bones. So breathe deeply. Feel the air move through you, the way it moves through whiskers. Feel the rhythm of your heart matching that ancient purr. The night will return soon, and when it does, the cats will rise again, silent, graceful, eternal, and the world, as always, will follow their lead. Evening drifts back across the sky like a long sigh. The day folds itself quietly, and the world begins its familiar descent into blue and silver. Shadows stretch, the air cools, lights flicker on one by one in windows where people move about, unaware that they are replaying an ancient rhythm, diurnal creatures retreating while the nocturnal prepare to rise. Somewhere a cat wakes. It doesn't hurry, cats never do. The eyelids lift, the spine unfurls, a yawn opens like a blossom. The house hums faintly, machines breathing, clocks ticking, but the cat listens beyond it all to subtler things. The echo of footfalls outside, the whisper of air against glass, the tiny electrical throb that runs through everything alive. For millions of years, its ancestors listened to the same music. Outside, dusk settles deeper. This is the cat's hour, the soft middle place between daylight and dark, between certainty and dream. Humans call it twilight, cats call it home. If you could follow one now, padding along a fence line or weaving through gardens, you'd see evolution in motion. Every leap, every pause, every turn of the head is memory made physical. The shoulders roll forward, the tail balances, the pupils widen until they swallow the last light of day. Each motion is perfect, because every imperfection has already been tested and erased by time. And what a time it's been! From forests to temples, from deserts to apartments, the cat's journey has always been a quiet one. No banners, no wars, just presence. A story told not in events but in postures, curled, crouched, stretched, still. The most peaceful conquest the world has ever known. Think of how many generations have watched that same silhouette move through darkness. Hunters with torches, sailors with lanterns, poets with candles, now us with screens. Technology changes the glow, but not the gaze. We still stop, still watch, still feel the same small spark of awe. That spark might be recognition. Beneath the layers of progress and noise, we still understand what the cat understands, that life isn't measured by noise or motion, but by awareness. That survival without serenity is only half of evolution's design. Watch long enough and you'll see what they've known all along. The world isn't something to conquer, it's something to harmonize with. The breeze is not background, it's conversation. The floorboards don't creak, they whisper. Even stillness isn't empty, it's full of listening. That's what cats do best, they listen to existence until it speaks back. Humans once believed that cats could see spirits, that their eyes reflected what we couldn't perceive. Maybe they do. Maybe what they see are all the invisible threads connecting everything, the web of sound and scent and motion that ties the world together. When they stare into nothing, perhaps it isn't nothing at all. Perhaps they're reading the hidden language of life. Evolution gave them that gift, but it also gave them something rarer: composure. They can face fear without frenzy. When startled, they freeze. When threatened, they measure. When ready, they act. Even their retreat has grace. In a universe addicted to reaction, they remain deliberate. It's easy to call them indifferent, but indifference is only the shadow of self-assurance. Cats don't lack emotion, they master it. They feel deeply, but they don't drown. They grieve quietly, rejoice privately, love without spectacle. They embody the discipline every wise soul eventually seeks, passion balanced by peace. If you've ever lost a cat, you know that silence afterward, the way the house seems larger and smaller at once, the way the sunlight looks like it's searching for someone. That emptiness is proof of their presence. Something so calm leaves a shape when it's gone. But endings are part of the same pattern. For every paw print that fades, another appears somewhere else, on a doorstep, in a garden, beneath a street lamp. The species endures not through dominance, but through invitation. They let the world love them, and the world obeys. In the great timeline of Earth, the age of humans is a blink, and within that blink, the partnership with cats is a heartbeat. Yet what a heartbeat it is: steady, soft, omnipresent. It hums beneath our stories, our architecture, our dreams. Even now, as we hurtle toward futures of machines and metal, cats remain our tether to what is gentle. They remind us that perfection isn't progress, it's presence, that the most advanced technology will never outdo the engineering of a purr. Imagine a future city, towers of glass, drones in the sky, streets lit by artificial moons. Somewhere on a balcony, a cat sits, eyes half closed, tail flicking lazily. Nothing about the skyline impresses it. The stars may be dimmed, but they're still there, and the cat knows it. In that quiet defiance lives hope for us all. Because if serenity can survive in such a world, then so can humanity. Perhaps that's the final lesson of their evolution, that peace adapts, that even in a civilization built on acceleration, a single creature can slow time simply by existing. So maybe we didn't just domesticate cats, maybe they domesticated calm itself, and maybe that's why we keep telling their story again and again as nighttime tales and gentle narrations. Because somewhere inside, we crave what they embody: continuity. The reassurance that not everything must change to endure. Outside, darkness completes its return. Streetlights shimmer. Somewhere, a door opens. Somewhere, another closes. The sounds of the world soften into the hush that always precedes sleep. Inside, a cat circles once, twice, then folds into itself on the bed. Its breathing steadies, the tail curls, the purr begins a low, endless murmur that blurs the border between wakefulness and dream. You can feel it more than hear it, like the heartbeat of the planet under your hand. It's the same sound that echoed in desert caves, in cargo holds of wooden ships, in stone temples filled with candle smoke. The same note sung across 10,000 years of companionship, the hymn of survival, of softness, of shared silence. And as you listen, your body begins to match it. Breathing slows, muscles release, thoughts drift. You don't have to force anything, the cat never does. Peace doesn't need effort, it only needs permission. So let the story fade now. Let the timeline dissolve. There is no beginning, no ending, only the quiet continuum of life learning how to rest. Somewhere beyond this moment, evolution continues, molecules shifting, stars burning, oceans breathing. But here, for now, everything is still. A small creature sleeps at your side, descended from gods and hunters, carrying in its fur the memory of the world's patience. And you descendant of fire makers and dreamers, lie beside it, finally remembering what they never forgot. That to be alive is enough. The purr deepens, the room grows dimmer, the story narrows to a single sound, a single breath, a single shared heartbeat, and then, like all good things born of evolution, it simply continues quietly, endlessly, beautifully, without needing to be told.